Today we're going to be looking at Lunar Tides in the color Fuchsia Pink. I have my swatches labeled 1 through 12, but that is not synonymous with hair levels. I do pictures and clips near the end of the video, so the numbers just help us keep track of each swatch. These are human hair swatches, but the only one that is virgin hair is the number 4 black swatch. The rest have been chemically colored or bleached at some point in their existence. One is green. Red and green are across from each other on the color wheel, so I just wanted to see how well this would cover. 2 is gray. 3 is a natural red. Again, 4 is black. And from 4 to 11 is a range that goes to platinum blonde. And then number 12 is a toned version of number 11. So at first, I will take the dye directly out of the container and I'll put it at the top of each swatch. Some people do like to dilute their dyes, so I will do a diluted version at the bottom of each swatch. Please keep in mind, everyone's hair is different, which means everyone's hair can take color differently. Also, different screens and monitors can make the colors look slightly off, especially undertone. So please just use my video as a reference for how this could turn out for you.
Don't steal a thunder, wake up at the right time, looking at my light, I don't say you just fine, on and on, we gotta keep it up, we gotta keep it up, baby take it out.
For the diluted section, we're gonna do a 1:4 ratio, so that'll be 1 part dye to 4 parts diluter. If you're confused about what diluter is, my simple quick answer is that it's just something that lightens the color of your dye, and I always just use a plain white conditioner. Anyone who watches my channel regularly might see that this looks a little different. So the camera that I usually film for the first half of this, I feel like isn't really that great. It's actually meant to be a photography camera. It can do filming, but it's not that great for it. So I'm trying to use my phone instead. If not, I'll just go right back to my normal camera. But I do usually use my phone to film the second half of my videos, so I know the quality is good, but setting it up can be a pain in the butt. So I'm gonna let these sit for about 3 hours. I will then rinse them out, and when they're dry, I will meet you back here and we'll do some comparisons. If you like this dye or any other Lunar Tides dye, I do have a code with Lunar Tides where you can get 15% off. It's code FLOXY. This is an affiliate code, so I do make a small commission every time you use it, but of course that will go right back into my channel, and thank you so much if you do use it. This seems to be a pretty pigmented dye because I can see a difference from the dark brown all the way up, and even on these ones as well. But I will warn anyone who has virgin hair, colors like this, sometimes they will take to your hair, but they won't necessarily stay in your hair. Sorry, my dog is walking around. So after a couple washes, it might be completely gone out of your hair. Just kind of depends. So number 1 was originally green, and I love how it turned out. It's very, very purple. I'm assuming that the green and the red tones in the dye kind of canceled out and left more of the purple tones, but regardless, the dye completely covered all of the green. Number 2 was originally gray, and I would say if we exclude, you know how purple this one looks, it's the most cool toned one out of all of them. It's not as purple looking as the green swatch, but it does have a slightly more purpley look versus maybe the blonde ones here. The natural red one almost looks like it could be somewhere around here. To me, at least from where I'm sitting right now looking at it, it doesn't look like the red undertones in the hair affected it too much. It might be slightly more warm leaning than the brown swatches are, but overall it has a similar hue to the brown swatches. Number 4 looks black as usual. usual. So I said you can see a difference on number 5. It still looks brown. It just has like a slight hint of a pink. I would be the most worried about doing this color over the dark brown because, like I said, there is a difference, but you might only see it maybe in like direct lighting or like sunlight, and it might not stay in your hair for very long, but there is a slight difference. I feel like you can't really see the pinky tones coming through fully until number 7. Number 6 looks like, again, a brown swatch with an undertone of pink. It is very pretty though. I like to usually pick a favorite for the direct dye and the diluted. Kind of difficult. I feel like 9, 10, and 11 on the direct dye look very similar to each other, so honestly, even if you have darker blonde hair, this probably would look similar to platinum blonde hair underneath. The diluted section, I think this one looks the most saturated, but honestly, like, these don't look bad at all. It's just slightly more red leaning than pink looking. And then number 12 was the toned looking swatch, and it is maybe like a drop more cool toned than the platinum blonde, but it's definitely not as cool toned as the gray. So I don't think you would really need to tone your hair first unless you can tone it to like a gray look and you're looking for something like that, but platinum blonde is just fine. And I will say, I feel like when I first applied this, it looked a little bit more red leaning, but then as it sat on the hair, the slightly more cool tones pulled through. You know, it's funny, I feel like colors like this are kind of a fan favorite because they're highly pigmented and, you know, a lot of people like pinky colors. But when I was looking at my swatches to compare, I realized I really haven't done many colors like this at all, which is kind of unfortunate. So my first comparison will not be as similar, but I kind of wanted to look at the undertones, and that is Arctic Fox in the color Virgin Pink. This is comparable to number 12, number 11, number 10, and number 9. So my thought process with this one was that maybe someone watching this video likes the diluted section a lot, so I wanted to see how similar this looked. Honestly, if you like the diluted section, but you'd rather just buy a dye that is the color of the diluted section, the Virgin Pink isn't too far off. I feel like on the Platinum Blonde swatch, you can see the most difference in undertone. The Virgin Pink pulls a hair more warm toned versus the diluted section is slightly more cool toned. But from my perspective, the 10s look very similar, and even the 12. Now, because the Lunar Tides fuchsia color is very dark and pigmented, you can get a better range out of it. So if you have darker hair, you may want to consider something like the Lunar Tides fuchsia. But if you have lighter hair, it's kind of a toss-up, you know, whatever undertone you like better. Not saying that the Virgin Pink doesn't cover the darker swatches, because it does. I just feel like with the Lunar Tides, it would probably wash out less fast on the darker swatches than the Virgin Pink, because the Virgin Pink, it is a lighter dye just on its own, meaning it may wash out a little bit faster for the darker swatches, especially virgin hair. Luckily, I have done at least one other fuchsia, and that is from Manic Panic, called Fuchsia Shock. This is comparable to number 12, number 11, number 10, and number 9. If you are familiar with Manic Panic, I did mention in their video that when you dilute the Fuchsia Shock, it looks exactly like Hot Hot Pink. So you could always buy this dye and lighten it even just a little bit if you're having troubles with Hot Hot Pink sticking to your hair. But anyways, so the Manic Panic Fuchsia is definitely much darker on the direct dye portion and clearly much more warm toned. I feel like the most similar one out of all of these would probably be the number 9, but you can tell just how cool toned the Lunar Tides is pulling in comparison. If I were to compare the Manic Panic Fuchsia to a warmer dye, I feel like it would look probably a lot more cool toned than it does right now, because I don't want to say that it's necessarily red in undertone. I wouldn't say it's that warm, but it's definitely a lot more rosy, and the Lunar Tides is a lot more berry. Both are quite pigmented though, and honestly, you might have slightly better luck with the Manic Panic Fuchsia if you have darker virgin hair. Something that I've just noticed over time, you know, with doing this, darker hair I feel like grabs onto warmer tones a little bit easier than cooler tones. And similar to what I was talking about with Virgin Pink, I almost wonder if the Manic Panic Fuchsia would stick a little bit better because it's even darker, which means it might be even more pigmented. If anyone has had experience with either of these dyes on darker hair, I would love if you could comment to help anyone out. But now I'd like to get into our before and after clips. Those, as well as anything else you might see near the end of the video, will all be done in natural lighting.
Terminal with a sign close and personal. To see your face light up, ooh, she's like lightning mood. Strike shirt on the careful up boy wind out, chasing out the sunrise from the city to Taluga. Don't you steal the thunder. Don't you steal the thunder. Wake up at the right time, looking at my light. I don't say it was fine. On and on, we gotta keep it up. We gotta keep it up. Baby, take your time. You got your whole life. Put faith in the sky. On and on, we gotta keep it up. We gotta keep it up. Butterflies, I'm turning gold. Got me spinning around like vertigo. How could I feel so certain, yeah, so ambivalent when it's time with you? It's so innocent. Through the sky on the back of a Pegasus. Got a wrinkle going less with the lavender. Supernovas blow up, gotta get a hose up, even if I host up. Don't let me steal your thunder. Wake up at the right time, looking at my light. I don't say it was fine. On and on, we gotta keep it up. We gotta keep it up. Baby, take your time. You got your whole life. Put faith in the sky. On and on, we gotta keep it up. We gotta keep it up. Wake up at the right time, looking at my light. I don't say it was fine. On and on, we gotta keep it up. We gotta keep it up. Baby, take your time. You got your whole life. Faith in the sky.
I hope this video helped. If you have a request, I do have a link below to a Google form you can fill out, but just remember, I only do dyes that do not test on animals. Thank you to my patrons so very much, and thank you so much for watching, and thank you if you use my code FLOXY, and I hope to see you in my next video.